Dr. Israel,
right.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
My
Jaden
pleasure.
told me he had a motivational speaker. I got excited. Something I've always dabbled in. I'm a motivational junkie. I wake up every morning, and before any content enters my brain, I put something either by Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins. I mean, YouTube just has all the motivation now. Right. So thank you for that. So tell me about yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm just an ordinary guy.
I don't think so.
With crazy dreams. And, wanted, as a young man, wanted to become the best in my field.
Okay.
Not because I wanted to be famous, not because I wanted wealth. I wanted to serve. And I realized that being the greatest gave me the greatest influence to serve others.
And you said you wanted to be the greatest in your field. What field?
Well, I had multiple fields. So I'm actually a minister by education. I have a doctorate in Divinity.
Okay.
And I found myself leading many leaders in the church world, nonprofit world. But that spilled over into troubleshooting for governments, presidents, prime ministers. And so I've been the audience of many presidents and prime ministers around the world.
Are you allowed to say?
I'd prefer not to.
You're allowed to name drop. Give me one.
Right.
Give me one.
Well,
it was exciting.
For instance, the King of Belgium.
Okay.
First world king. I've sat with people, prime ministers of Aruba. I've been invited by Fidel Castro. 52 state heads to
Did you
come
take that?
I did not take it because of my alliance with the United States.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that. Integrity is important.
Yes.
And I've coached Fortune 500 companies, Fuji, Colgate, the CEOs. So done a bit of that, and becoming the best in my field was a life journey. And that's, I started 40 years ago in the field. Still tracking, still going.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like that made you urge to be the best?
Well, look, I grew up in a war zone. So I was born in South Africa.
Okay.
Moved before I turned 1 to Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe.
Okay.
The war broke out in Zimbabwe, Rhodesia at that time. And, I learned from an early age, military, curfews and all this type of thing, sirens going in the streets, get inside, it's 5:00 in the evening.
That's wild.
Seeing active warfare as a kid just in our town. It was a bad time. My family then migrated back to South Africa, where the war started breaking out there. And so my whole life was militant, cadets at school, South Africa has uniforms. It's very British. So I always had to have my hair a certain style. I had to wear a certain uniform, march with little white wooden guns, just as a 12-year-old, So very structured.
So they're training you.
They're training us.
From day one.
Yeah.
They're training you. Wow.
Because every young man, at that time a white young man, 17 years old, that's finished high school. I'm not sure what you call that here, high school.
High school.
You've done 14 years of school, and you're 17 or 18 onwards, you're off to war.
Okay.
And so I remember, coming out of school straight into war.
So this is you said you moved there when you were 1.
Right.
You're 17. This war's still going on.
Yes. Well, the Rhodesian War had come to an end.
Okay.
But it had come down south on the continent, and now we're in South Africa, and that war's on our borders.
Wow.
And so that was my life. My whole growing up years, I only knew war around me. It doesn't mean that living in South Africa was always bombs going off, that type of thing. No, but our borders were needing to be protected.
Yeah.
And so the war was on the borders, and we had to defend the borders to protect South Africa.
Did you feel a calling growing up, an innate calling saying, it is my duty to go to war when I'm of age?
Well, we didn't even think like that. Here in America, you have choice. You have Do I want to serve? Don't I want to serve? We had no choice. It was mandatory service. And so we had to go. So I don't even think we thought of choice. We just knew that was was part of the script written.
Yeah.
We had to go, and that was it.
What happened if you said no?
You go to jail.
You go to jail.
Yeah. So the mandatory service was 2 years initially. You'd go to jail for 5 years for not serving. So a lot of religious organizations wouldn't go to war because of their belief, but they could choose that, but they would go to jail for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was it. And after the 2 years, every 3 months, every year thereafter. And so I remember traveling the world with my military gear with me because I had to be home within 24 hours at any time. So I could not travel further in distance than 24 hours to get home if I was called for war. So that frames you. It certainly affects who you are and how you do things.
That's intense. I mean, I thought I had it rough growing up, but that's a different level.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like just on your daily activities that you were in danger? Did you have a sense of anxiety, say walking to school or?
No, not in South Africa. South Africa was, again, the borders were at war, but the internal area was safe.
So you were okay.
Yeah, we were safe. Yeah. So, but I never had anxiety because of war or any of that. I think you learn it. It just becomes part of who you are, and
we're so lucky in the States. We never, 9/11.
Yeah.
Right. Before that, what was the last attack on the U.S.?
Yeah.
But it's so prominent, just the one-day attack and how that shifted the whole dynamic of the country.
Right.
We're so spoiled. I had another sales guy. He was a Marine. He would tell me, he goes, "You know why you sleep good at night? Because those young men are dying in other countries for you."
Wow.
And I never forgot that.
That's powerful. Yeah.
And we do a lot for the vets here. There's vets in this office that we always want to help out. But that's wild. So you go to the military at 17.
Yeah.
2 years.
Well, I was 18. I was slower at school.
So 2 years you're slow. I don't think
the smartest cracker.
Yeah, but doctor, you just weren't challenged.
The school system didn't work with my way of thinking.
What was your way of thinking?
I read between the lines.
Okay.
I think for myself.
Okay.
And I think the school system is, he has a question, and the question is just very simply asked. My brain doesn't work that way. I'm thinking there must be a catch. This is too simple. I want to dig deeper and find out more. So I'm answering my discovery, from the question, and that's not what they're looking for.
No.
So, my teacher would always call me up and say to me, if I ask you this question, how would you answer it? And I would answer, well, that's the right answer. So why can't you do that on paper? So anyway, they discovered that my brain was a little different to others. So, good or bad, I don't know, but it didn't fit the school system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the school system similar to the system we have here in the U.S.?
Correct, yeah.
So it's just designed to produce factory workers?
Yeah. Look, it's all about creating workers, laborers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And not enough about leadership, not enough about governance of your life. And it's all about, how can I get a job, save up for my retirement.
Yeah.
I owe, off to work I go, and then I die. I don't sign up to that.
I just had that conversation with she's like my sister. She's my niece, but we're the same age. We were talking yesterday, and I go, "Oh God, how lucky are we, huh?" And then she's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, I don't have to clock in. It's 9 o'clock. I'm kind of cruising into work."
Yeah.
I go, "We don't have to be stuck in traffic. We do whatever we want, and we just we choose to work. We choose to live a life that we want to live. We get to move around. We're still objectified by having to do daily tasks, but it's under our wants or at least what we perceive as something we want to do."
Right. Well, because I wasn't good at education, I didn't learn their system. And so I've never...
Well, you weren't going to go work for Ford and smash tires,
Right. 6 weeks of a 40-year working span. That's all I've worked for a boss. 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Hated it. I came out like, who does this? Who does this? And the only reason why I did the job, I wanted to explore it was the number one sales dealership in the world. And I wanted to learn, I don't want to say the name.
What kind of car?
Sorry?
What kind of car?
No, not motorcycles.
Motorcycles.
So number one in the world, and I wanted to learn the insides, the guts of it.
Yeah.
So if I bought a franchise,
I saw your Instagram full of motorcycles.
Yeah. I love motorcycles. I've ridden across the States a couple of times, east to west.
Let's go.
Yeah, I love the bike. I love to get out there and just be by myself and think.
I think that a correlation is the freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You like to be in the open. Are you the guy that crosses Arizona state line and takes off your helmet because you're a rebel?
Absolutely.
They're not telling you what to do.
I think helmets are very restricting.
I think we need to protect your brain, though.
Well, there's multiple ways of protecting, and people said to me, it's so dangerous riding a motorcycle, right? And I came across from Florida to California and back again, 6,500 miles. I saw no motorcycle accidents, but I saw several fatal car accidents on the same journey.
But the delta is that in the car accidents, you have chance for survival. You have a chance, the risk for injury is mitigated by that exterior shell, the seatbelt, and the airbags.
I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue because that's a silly argument to try have.
No, I'm not arguing
but
it, but it's like the argument with the planes. Why are people scared of planes? There's less plane accidents, but there's finality.
Yeah.
The motorcycle is finale.
But let's talk about governance again, a disciplined life. So I ride motorcycle, but I've hard studied the top 5 reasons why people have motorcycle accidents, the top 5 causes of motorcycle deaths. Well, I studied that. I'm very alert and aware on the road.
What are they?
Well, number 1 is going to be a car coming opposite to you and turning across your lane. And you're going this way. They're going to come down and turn across your lane. You're going to T-bone. That's number 1. Number 2 is corners. They don't know how to corner properly. And so it's a simple principle of where your head goes, so everything else is going to go.
Yeah.
And whether you're riding a horse, whether you're riding a bicycle, whatever it is, that is the truth. Whether you're driving a car and you're looking over there, your hand tends to turn, right?
Right.
And that's the same thing with the motorcycle. So the cornering is dangerous because people have got speed, but they don't have the right head movement. It's always head first. And I remember when I used to do martial arts, it was always before I execute anything, it's going to be my head first.
Interesting.
Look and then move, then execute.
Yeah.
And that's the same with motorcycle riding. And then you've got a counter steer in the corner as well with motorcycles. So, but a lot of people don't learn those things. So you have idiots popping wheelies and, and they're getting killed and me getting blamed for it, And
they're the reason you wear a helmet in California. What martial arts did you study?
I did karate, Funakoshi.
Okay.
I did a bit of Chinese wrestling, jiu-jitsu, aikido.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I love that. There's nothing better than martial arts. Something about it, right?
Right.
I do jiu-jitsu, kickboxing for a ton of years. I still do jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Okay, cool.
I love it. Guys like you thrive in jiu-jitsu because you're playing chess the whole time.
Right.
You're thinking 6-7 moves ahead.
Right. Absolutely.
You got to come one day. You got to come train with us one day. We're right here locally in Marietta.
Okay. I'm a little old now, so
no,
the bones are creaky.
No, this is just for fun. We're not competing. That's it. I'm way past that. And we've gone every which way. But so you're get out of the military.
Yeah.
And what happens next? What takes you onto this journey?
Well, I became a minister. I went straight into going into the field of being a minister, and while I became, I started off. You start as an assistant pastor, and then you build your way up as life goes on, But I moved out of that denominational scene, didn't fit me, and I started a network of churches, and then I started pioneering churches.
You started a network of churches. What does that mean?
Well, okay, so without going into too much detail because of time, basically we pioneered our own churches.
Okay.
And we had independent churches relate to us for covering, for oversight. So we planted about 450 churches on 5 continents. That's what I did for 20 years of my time. But in that process, it became about building leaders, raising up leaders. And so I became a leader to leaders. And that's what I've maintained all these years, being a leader to leaders. It doesn't matter what field. Then I started coaching 40 years ago, I started coaching. Had my own company before it was even a thing. Because I realized I learned counseling in my degree, but counseling didn't work. So counseling tells people what you think's wrong with them and what you think they should do to fix it. That's counseling. Nobody wants to be told what to do.
No.
It's just a human nature. They're not going to do that. And so I discovered asking the question was better and letting them self-discover. Because when they're self-discovered, they believe themselves.
You're guiding the questions to leading them to the answer that you want them to get to. No?
That's how it started. Because I thought, I'm not going to tell them, but still that's a problem where I think they should do this. I don't know them as well as they know themselves.
So what is the path to getting somebody to self-discover?
Ask them the first question. Where do you want to go?
God, I love that. Can I share a story right now?
Sure.
You just prompt this up. Okay. My brother's, I haven't said this on the podcast. I haven't talked about family, so this will be the first time. Brother's former just delinquent, right? Been in prison. Mm-hmm. It's just a rough time growing up. He's 10 years older than me. And when I moved back from Seattle banking, I went to East LA, hung out with them, and guys lost, back child support, trying to drive forklifts at warehouses and going through temp agencies, just going nowhere. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a liability for me in the future. Yeah, I'm going to have to take care of this guy. And we were driving on the 60 freeway from LA to Moreno Valley. He's in my passenger seat, and I look over at him. And it just hit me. I go, what do you want to do with your life? Mm-hmm. And I can see it in his face because no one talks to this guy. He would sit in the corner of a family party, and he was an incel to everybody. He was just lost. And he'd fucked so many people over that no one wanted to give him the time of day. Yeah. Right. And so I look over, and he's taken back, and he goes, I want to be a truck driver. And I go, okay, so why aren't you one? Right. And he goes, well, I owe child support, so I can't get a license. I go, that's the obstacle? Money? That's the obstacle? Okay, how do we fix it? Right. And he goes, well, I don't know. I go, give me a couple of days. So we go through the part, and I can't stop thinking, right? Like, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna fix this shit. Sorry, I'm from LA, so my language isn't as articulate as yours.
You be you. Yeah.
And so then we go to, so when I do some research, I go, okay, so Riverside County is where he owes the child support. We can go to their office. So we go to their office. He's got, $50,000 in back child support. I go, okay, well, we're not going to give you $50,000, but how do I make it so that he's able to go get a driver's license? Right. And so they're like, well, you can get on an installment plan. You got to pay us a couple of grand. Are you kidding me? Where do I cut the check? Okay, so this is obstacle one. What's our next obstacle to go get? I go, okay, so we got child support. So why don't you have what do we need to do next to get your truck driver's license? Well, I need to go to school. Okay, go find me 3 schools that you can go take the schooling for. So he comes back. He says, hey, I want to do this school. Yeah. Okay, all right, let's go. Let's get you that school. So he goes to the school, and I can see him studying at home, and now he's got another energy about him, and now he's saying good morning, and now he's starting to talk to people. And here we are a couple of years later. Now he's talking to me about buying a house, buying his own trailer.
I love it. Yeah.
And, and it took one question.
One question. I think it's such a great way of communication, a philosophy of communication, is asking questions. Yeah. Because people can answer for themselves, and you help them think for themselves. And so often when I first sit down with them, when I'm coaching a client, I'll say, where do you want to get to? What is it that you want to arrive at? What point do you want to arrive at? And they're going to tell me an answer. And that answer may change as we journey through asking questions. They may reevaluate, they may change their mind, they may think a little deeper. I don't mind. The goal is to get them going the direction they should be going in for their lives.
Now, you're coaching leaders.
Correct.
So you're coaching a different caliber of person, right?
Right.
So what are some of the challenges that these are high-level individuals? What are some of the common challenges people come to you with?
Well, the two types of people you coach: those who don't believe enough of themselves, and those who think too much of themselves. There's just two types of people, and the one that thinks too much of themselves is normally found in leadership.
Yeah.
Because they've been there, they've done that, they've made $1 million, they made $1 billion, whatever it is that you're coaching, but the fact that they call you in and they pay the money,
yeah,
they're prepared to invest into that, they wanted to get something out. And so that's where my expertise needs to come in coaching, to say, this is the right question to ask, this is the way to ask that question. Because often we can ask the right question wrong. We do it wrong. We got the wrong attitude to that person.
What's an example of that?
Well, if I talk down to somebody, if I'm cocky, arrogant, I know it all, you should, and so in that attitude of communication can be very off-putting. But if I come to pick you up and elevate you, that's going to help you receive what I'm saying. And so I always talk about leadership becoming a trusted resource. If I'm not a resource for somebody, so you're a resource in your company, that's why you're gaining ground and gaining territory, because you're a resource, you know your stuff, right? You've studied, you've learned, you've experienced, you've had goods and bad, which all taught you a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're a resource. You're sitting with, if I want to buy a house, Tony's the man.
I got my black belt.
Because you have resource.
Yeah.
But, I listened to one of your podcasts, how you told a story about you pre-qualified for 600 somebody, and they went off to somebody else.
Yeah.
And got a higher pre-qualification that hurt them, right?
That hurt them.
They lost trust.
Yeah.
In that person. They gained trust in you. And so it's not just to be a resource, but it's become a trusted resource. That people keep coming back to you. They're sending their family members to you, And so I need to be both. And so people hire me in the first place because I'm a trusted resource. So that word trust already brings them to a place where the guy knows what he's talking about, resource, but I can trust him. He's going to answer my call if I call him. He's going to respond to me within 24 hours, not leave it for 6 days. Trusted resource. And so by the time they hire me, that's already there. And there's the pre-qualifying to be my client. I'm not just taking every client. Because if they're not ready for change, they're not ready for journey, I can't help them.
So what does your ideal client look like?
Well, he's got to have enough money to pay for me. But besides that, and I say that because, you can't coach for $100 an hour.
Yeah.
You're not going to live. You're not going to survive financially.
No.
Just realistically. So, but they've got to be able to afford. But the point is, that type of person who is willing to put the money down, it's not about the money. It's about he's willing to put it down because he wants to invest in himself. So he wants to become this resource. He wants to become a trusted resource. He wants to better his life. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or a billionaire. It's all the same. I've coached both. And the point is that billionaire suddenly wants to increase the bottom dollar on his company, by $1 billion. I don't know his company. That's a consultant. I'm not a consultant.
Yeah.
But I know people. And I need to be able to take him, that level of person, to another level. That means I've got to know his willingness to receive, to learn, to give himself to the journey. So somebody is committed to the process, because life going forward is a process. It is a journey. There's no instant success. You don't make $1 million overnight just because some quick fix thing. 10 years for an overnight success, for some, 5 years for some, but it's not 24 hours, And so I need to have people, my ideal client is the person, besides being able to afford it, is prepared to commit to the journey, commit to the process, It's going to take some time. Maybe it's 6 weeks. Maybe it's 2 months. Maybe it's a year. But there is going to be a turnaround. So my slogan, my elevator speech used to be, I create millionaires. Well, everybody wants to be a millionaire, right? I changed it because everybody wants to be a millionaire. There are a lot of clients I didn't want to work with.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have the wherewithal to become the millionaire. Simple things like self-governance, discipline, willingness to commit to process.
Yep.
These are ingredients that I need in a client. I can be the best football coach, but unless that athlete gives himself to the game, it doesn't matter how good I coach, right?
What are some of the milestones that you see your clients need to hit throughout your process?
Well, I think self-discovery is crucial. So I talk about what I call a matrix principle. In your mother's womb, you were formed. Now, I've got to use the Bible for this little. I don't want to be preachy here. But Bible says that in the matrix of your mother's womb, you're formed for purpose. So you're formed. Yeah. My wife's a singer. I can't sing. I don't even sing in the shower when she's around because that's not good. I make people cry, and she makes them cry, but for different reasons when she sings. And so I'm formed for what I do. I know the qualities that I have. I know the qualities that I don't have. I know my voice works for me. So I discovered that. People talk about my voice.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you think do you notice that about my voice?
Oh, your voice is perfect for what you're doing. It's deep. You know how to inflect. You can tolerate it over the phone for an extended period of time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my voice is
it's your gift.
My gift.
Yeah.
So in self-discovery, I discover that. I don't discover what I'm not because there's a lot of things I'm terrible at. But I'm not telling you that, right? I'm going to take my gift and I'm going to maximize my gift. I'm going to add skill to it. I'm going to learn language. I'm going to find better words to use.
Yeah.
And so all of that is very important to me. So I maximize. Once I self-discover, that's milestone number 1. Milestone number 2 is when you see your gift beginning to work for you. And so we do that by setting some goals. So, my voice is taking me on television to 283 million homes once a week on television. People listen to me. People tuned in every Tuesday to listen to my program. I've spoken to 150,000 people at one time. People listen to my voice. And so I've had to maximize that. Another thing I self-discovered about myself is I'm a strategic thinker. I think in points, A, B, C, D. I can play chess. So I have a certain framework of thought. Those are my gifts. That doesn't mean I excel because I have those gifts. I've got to discover them first. If I don't know what they are, I'm not going to maximize them. I'm not going to develop them. I'm not going to hone them. And so once discovery comes, milestone 1, number 2, start setting markers where they start seeing that gift works for them. And when you start seeing that gift working for them, I tell you what, their life changes because it's purposed.
Yeah.
It's who they are. It's what they were meant to do.
It's innate.
Yeah, right. And so that self-discovery is so important. And a lot of guys get to the self-discovery point and I have certain courses to do that you can do to get there in a group coaching session. But when you get there, a lot of them say, I know who I am, off I go, but they don't self-develop. They don't maximize who they are. They don't add value to themselves. Any business, any entrepreneurship, anything you're doing in life is about you first, as in developing yourself to be that trusted resource. Again, the resource, the improving of knowledge, adding value to yourself, and then being trusted, having an integrity and character and this type of thing. And so it's always about, once I discover, what do I need to do to make this work for me? There's another level. And you've got to keep going to next level. And so I'm not done. I've just handed over my international organization. I'm no longer the CEO of that. So I'm retired.
Golf, get the golf clubs ready.
Yeah. But, you can't retire, right?
No.
Because the business is me, not what I sell. Because if I'm a trusted resource, I had somebody else, I train horses as well. I had somebody else come to me a little while ago saying, where did you get that saddle? And I said, well, it's such a cheap saddle because I train horses with it. These horses can flip over, they're going to mess. I'm paying thousands of dollars for a saddle. So I only paid $600 for the saddle. Yeah, but I want it. I said, why? You're not a trainer? She said, I want everything you have. I trust you. If you're doing it, I want to do it. Trusted resource.
Yeah.
And then you're not trying to sell anything. I hate salesmen that push on you. I walk into a store and they're all like little hyenas,
That's level 1 of sales, though.
Yeah, it's like, geez, God, back off a little bit, I remember working for this dealership. These young sales guys that were there, they would form a little tunnel, and this poor person coming in, I'd watch them.
Oh, no.
They'd duck their head and walk fast through the little tunnel of sales guys.
Oh, no.
And, well, I wouldn't do that, right? I'm inside, I have a little cloth in my back pocket, and they walk in, they've got through the scary zone, and I see them, make eye contact, turn away from them, start wiping the bike down. Who do they come to?
They're going to come to you.
They're going to come to me.
Yep.
And then I say, you're just looking around today, aren't you? Because I want a yes answer.
Yep.
They say, yeah, just looking. I've got my first yes. I said, well, enjoy.
Tom Hopkins.
These bikes are there. If you need anything, I'm available. I'll just be cleaning the bikes here. They come back to me, I'll sell a bike. So, but it's that whole thing where they're going to be attracted to me. They got to remember me. They got to say, who's this guy? If I go to a networking meeting, I'm not throwing my business card out. That's the worst thing to do.
No.
I don't even have business cards. Why?
That's awesome. I don't carry business cards.
You need a business card to remember me?
Yeah. Nope.
No, you're going to remember me because of me.
Yeah.
I am the business card. And product is only 5% of your business. But we're putting so much energy on the product and very little on who you are, And so that's where coaching helps, taking them on that journey of becoming that attractive person, in their life with their gifting. Know how to work the gift, stop being arrogant, stop being cocky, stop being an idiot, stop repelling people.
Yeah.
These are things that you got to be aware of, And so coaching will take them on that journey so they can maximize who they really are and that gift. And they'll never look back again.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Coaching is huge.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Huge.
I paid one of the top mortgage guys to coach me. I couldn't even afford him when I hired him.
Right.
And, and he's great. And one of the things with coaching, and you didn't touch on it, but I know it's something you hold strong, is accountability. And
Absolutely.
You touched on it as you said, they got to commit.
Right.
I had my coach call me this week. So what are you doing? You're working at 40% right now.
Yeah.
I need you to get back in the game. So shit, you're right.
Right.
You're right. Weekly call cost me, more than a house payment.
Right.
But it's worth its weight in gold.
What are you going to make? What is the ROI?
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I mean, I tell you what, you're making so much success or advancement in your life because of coaching. You'll never get there without coaching.
Yeah, it just keeps you. It just keeps you going, keeps you on the same path.
Yeah.
You said you've coached. You said you said everyone wants to be a millionaire.
Right.
Man, there's that rap song, right? More money, more problems.
Right.
In this era where things are so glorified, the nice cars, the big houses, the beautiful women, the beautiful men, whatever.
Right.
Where do you see people? I struggle with a lot of the people in my cohort.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they see the vacations that on my perspective, I see their vacations, or I see them get the big house or the nice car, and I go, you can't afford that. You know, and I know what y'all make. You can't afford that. But because of the culture of wanting to post on Instagram, wanting to post on social media, they want the accolade, they want the like, but they don't want to do the work. It's rare to find the person who says the journey is the reward and not the end value.
Right.
Not the $1 million. The $1 million come when you enjoy the journey.
Right.
When you enjoy the start, right? The start of this podcast that we're doing. I love these conversations.
Yeah. Right.
There's not monetary gain in it right now, but knowing people like you. But how do you get people to see that and see the value in the come up, to see the value in the journey?
Well, experience. Experience is everything, even in sales. Give them a good experience, and they're going to be happy, right?
Yeah.
Restaurants, give them a good experience, going to be happy. Life is about experience. And when they find their true self, they find a different value because of experience. Their experience. They're sleeping at night. Let me tell you a story about myself. Climbing that ladder, I'm worth a lot of money at that time. I'm driving a 911 Porsche convertible.
It's a nice car.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm driving from Belgium, where I was living, just outside of Brussels.
Okay.
I'm driving my Porsche to Switzerland to go address 250 leaders from around the world that have come to hear me speak. They paid tons of money to be there. And we got this beautiful place in Switzerland in the mountains. We're doing a whole weekend thing. And I'm sitting there, they're all inside, they're buzzed, they're excited, they're motivated, they're inspired, I'm sitting outside there at the peak of my career. I didn't have any financial problems at all. I mean, I just bought one house for 2 million euros in Europe. I had a home in the States. I had a home in South Africa. I was living the life, living the dream, right? But I sat there, my feet in the water of a river in Switzerland. The event hall is up here. I'm sitting down here. And I'm crying. And I said, how can a man so blessed, so successful, be so sad and so unfulfilled? Is this it? That moment, that experience changed how I saw money, changed how I saw shiny objects. And I didn't get into debt to get those things, like many, many people are doing. But I had them and they were empty. I had a home in Cape Town on Table Bay, which is very elite. I sold it when I left for 9.6 million. That home, my daughter, Jaden's wife, always refers to the home, the big house, 9,000 square foot Tuscany villa right on the beach. I hated it. I hated it because it's empty. I want to go to bed at night knowing that I'm valuable, not because I have a car parked in the garage, but because I helped somebody else today. I elevated somebody. I inspired somebody. And so I have a life goal. I think we all need a life goal because that governs us in our decision making. My life goal is to inspire somebody every single day of my life. And that life goal governs me. So that guy cuts me off. Of course, we're in California, right? Traffic. That guy cuts me off. I want to show the fist at them, But before I show the fist, I think about my life goal. Will this inspire them?
No.
Will not inspire them. Put my fist down. So maybe I wish them well in better driving experiences.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do what I used to do naturally. It governs me. And when I live a life I'm inspiring people, everything else is added to me. But I never worked for it. I served others There's no money me sitting here today having a chat with you. You're not paying me anything.
No.
No. I normally get paid a lot more money to speak.
I appreciate it.
Right? No, I don't expect payment. Why? It's not about money. How can I serve you? How can I help you?
You just did.
These guys are trying to help you. I want to help them. That's what it's about. It's not about money. And I've moved away from putting money as a goal. And so in my coaching, I'm going to coach you away from going after money. I know money will come. I want everybody to be millionaires, of course. Well, that's too little nowadays.
Yeah.
You got to have multi, I want everybody to have that. I want people to sleep at night without worrying about paying their bills. I want people to not worry about their children's education, all this type of thing, of course. But at the end, you die, and then someone's going to fight over the money you had.
Yeah.
It's fake. It's vanity.
That's interesting, and one of the things you just said, it goes, they fight over the money, right?
Right.
It's not an exact correlation, but again, this morning, it was a powerful conversation with Lizette, and we were talking about her kids, my daughter, our nephews and nieces, and we're going, and she goes, oh man, when they grow up, they're going to learn. And I go, they're not. I said, because we've set them up differently.
Yeah.
Well, you and I, we grew up in East LA. We grew up in hard knocks. We grew up in, it wasn't a war zone, but we grew up in a different climate. We grew up in a different environment. Yeah. We learned from freaking getting our asses kicked, from getting jumped, from, getting shot at, for me personally. And we came from a different environment. We learned, we were broke. We had to claw our way through everything. So that now just walking outside with no shoes on, because you're in a gated community, is a blessing.
Right.
But the kids aren't going to value anything that we do for them, because they're never going to know what the struggle was.
Right.
They're just going to know the money.
Right.
When my daughter turned 16 and she goes, Daddy, can I have a Tesla? I'm going to say, what color?
Yeah.
Right. She's never going to know, hey, you know what? At 15, you have to go work at a warehouse for the entire summer so that you can buy clothes for school.
Right.
They're not going to know that. They're not going to know what it means to go through the journey to get there.
Tragedy. It's a tragedy.
Is it though? Because, and here's what she got me with, because I was going in that direction. Yeah. And she goes, but would you want it any other way? And
that's the thing. I don't want to interrupt you, but this is my struggle right now. I've got a bunch of kids. I've got 8 kids, 2 adopted.
Okay.
And I watch them, and some are knocking out the park, some are not. But the point is, money was too easy. And I'd set about a ton of money for each one of my kids for inheritance, a ton of money. And I went through a tsunami, what I call a tsunami, and I lost everything. When I lost everything, my greatest fear at that point was, how do I get back their inheritance? Because I don't want them to have to struggle. Well, I look at them as adults, and I'm sad at times because they're not hustling enough. They're not applying themselves enough. I'm not talking for all the kids. I've got to be careful, Jaden's here. But I really am not talking about all my kids. Some and some not.
Yeah, and they know.
Sorry?
They know.
They know.
If they see this, they know who
they know, yeah. And so, not that they're bad kids, but they could be so much more. And so, trying to figure out, how am I going to make this, I had to settle $1 million debt, all this type of stuff. I got all that done. That was fine. But how do I get back to the place I was for my kids? And I just really felt that was wrong in the first place. It's that same story about teaching a man how to fish, and he'll eat for his rest of his life.
Yeah.
And so I started writing journals of everything I know, everything I went through. And so my legacy is not going to be in cash. my legacy is going to be in information. That they can apply themselves. They apply this information. They can do greater things than I did. If I just give them cash, they may just blow it.
$1 million, spend it in a day.
Yeah, because they don't know how to govern it.
Yep. They don't know how to make it work for themselves.
They don't, yeah, right.
They don't understand the value of how hard it was.
They won't be able to get it back again.
Yeah.
Because they never got it in the first place. And so I'm not against leaving them a comfortable inheritance, but I want to leave them something more valuable. And that is how. Really the how. And you're going to need some energy, some oomph to get up and go. You're not going to get your feet out of the bed in the morning and get out there and make it work for you. And that information, because they're all different, what is your gift? What is your purpose? And knock that out the park. And if I can teach you that, well, there's no end to your success. And if you go through a bankruptcy for some external reason, mine was embezzlement. If you go through something like that, at the end of the day, guess what? You're going to make it.
Yeah.
Because it's inside of you. I'd rather give that internal gift than money. Now, look, I want to give them as much as I can, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to be greedy and just be takers, consumers. I don't want my kids to be that. You got to contribute a life. You got to be a giver. There's far more reward in that, as opposed to being a taker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leaving your legacy, leaving your last name imprinted
Absolutely.
Forever.
Absolutely.
God, that's motivation.
Yeah.
Where do you see the next phase of your career and your life going now that you've said I'm retired?
Well, I'm working on my legacy. So doing more writing, giving more time to putting stuff in print. I am an author. I've written many books, but they're all in Dutch because I was living in Europe at the time. So I'm going to be rewriting some of those books and, putting some new material out and, that's more relevant for today. So doing a lot of that. I'm still traveling and speaking. I'm just not running or managing an organization, and I'm still coaching, We also certify coaches. So we have a school where if you want to become a coach, life coach, business coach, executive coach, leadership coach, we certify you.
What's the name of the coaching program?
It's called the Isayyes Coaching Company.
Tom Hopkins comes to mind every time you say that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Have you heard of him?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. His whole thing is get them to say yes in the sales process.
Right. So for me, it's all about yes. So even in sales, it's about yes.
Yeah.
Come in on podcasts, say yes. So this little story, Jaden knows who I am. Jaden eats at my home. He, we play with his baby. We spent the day at the zoo yesterday, maybe walk for miles and miles. James comes, I meet him one afternoon, and we have a conversation. I'm on a podcast today. Because he saw something, obviously.
Yeah.
And he captured it.
Yeah.
He said yes to something.
This guy right here, I admire him. I saw him at a open house, right? Saying yes. And he's got he walks in with his family, and I go, dude, what are you doing? I go, do a video here.
Yeah.
And so he runs out and gets his camera, and then and I just told him yesterday how proud I was of him. Yeah. And I was like, was it yesterday we had that conversation? And then he's like, oh, I'm working at can I say your story? Yeah. He's like, I'm working at this dog trainer for X amount. And I go, what the fuck you doing there? Bro, get over here.
Yeah.
I'll match it. Let's get,
yeah.
Here's my vision. I go, but my vision, ultimately, this is my vision, but here's an opportunity for you to and go build your business. And he's brought in Jaden, he's brought in interns and just really taken the opportunity, his first yes, and just expanded on it. And
well, that's what I saw on it was just Saturday, right? I saw he runs.
Yeah.
Now, of course, Jaden just knows me. That's disadvantages to him, in that. But I'm very proud of Jaden as well. He's had a lot of external setbacks. Working with green cards and all this type of stuff. but he's hustled. Jaden's hustled.
These guys are hustlers.
Yeah, he makes it work. And that's the type of person I'm looking for in life too. If you talk about what ideal client is to coach. Now, I give about, it's not a lot of money, but I give about $50,000 away for pro bono work for young guys that are emerging, that can't afford me, And normally life coaching, our business only charges $100 an hour for life coaching. I don't do that.
That's a steal.
Yeah, but that's because why?
I pay a mortgage for my coach.
Right. But that's life coaching, not business coaching.
Yeah.
That's something else. And the reason why we do it is because the guys that can't afford us can have a chance to.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not about money. But what do those people, those $100 clients, what do they become?
$1,000 clients.
Yeah. It keeps going up, you see.
Yeah.
If you believe in what you're doing, it's going to work, And so we only do $50,000 of that we give away. The rest got to pay, And
do you have any stories that you want to share? Like any client that just stands out who's.
Well, I have a confidentiality problem in my communication. So I can't really give names, but guys in real estate, a lot of guys have become millionaires starting out. I have one person here that's in LA, actually they CEO of a real estate company in Beverly Hills now. So 4 years ago, they'd just been certified as a coach by myself. I continued to coach them to business and real estate. They started out at Keller Williams. They did really well. Became a coach for Keller Williams. Moved up. Today, 4 years later, in that function that they're in today in Beverly Hills, we know the market there is a little different to Temecula, right?
Yeah, just a tad bit.
And so making big dollars.
Yeah.
In a 4-year process. So I think that's pretty good. I've seen shorter successful millionaires. I normally like to see a guy make $1 million in a year through coaching. That's important to me. But then they've really got to be, you've got to have the right skill set. They've got to be able to throw a ball, right?
They also got they have to be in the right industry.
Right. Not just anybody can say, I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
No, that's unrealistic.
You're doing that at Jack in the Box.
Yeah. So we've got to know the client, the potential of the client. A lot of multi-marketing guys are trained into millionaires within a year, a lot of them. And they become great leaders, and they actually leave multi-marketing. They climb, and then they leave. I'm very much about establishing a coaching process in the downline. Because multi-marketing can be very brutal to the bottom dog, and a lot of guys lose a lot of money trying to get in and trying to build up because the guy at the top's not pulling them up. They're standing on them to get up.
Yep.
I try to turn it around where they are pulling up. So everybody in the team succeeds.
Yes.
And if everybody in the team succeeds, that's going to elevate you.
Yeah.
So don't be stupid and don't be greedy by standing on them to get up. Pull them up. And so I built in a program for them, for their team, a coaching program. And so we see not only the top guy become a millionaire, but we see a bunch of others under them become millionaires.
But isn't that every business, right? That's not just multi-level marketing.
That's every business, yeah.
That's every business. Man, we started this, and I don't think we got on the podcast with me saying it's more profitable to be a high-level sales guy than a manager.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's interesting because what you just said would challenge my original statement.
Yeah.
Right. And so maybe it's something to reflect on. Maybe it's my leadership skill.
Right.
That I'm not pulling enough. Now I do believe in that's always been my vision, is to invest into my sales staff and give them everything.
Right.
I've been told I give them too much, and that's why they're not succeeding.
Right. Well, I think there's a balance of what you're giving them. You made a statement earlier. You said you told this guy, I'm going to one day take your position. Right? and he was the CEO.
Yeah.
What about you being the manager, looking at the guy beneath you saying, one day you're going to take my position?
I would hope they do.
Right. Because isn't that what it's about? It's pulling them up.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they pull you up, they elevate you.
Yeah.
You know, when my client makes $1 million after a year, is he going to talk about me?
To everybody.
Yeah, he's going to tell everybody about me. I've got people knocking on my door, right? And so it's all about pulling up. But, you know, so many guys, and we spoke about our kids and this type of thing, so many guys don't want help. They want to prove themselves.
Oh, God. Ego.
It's like, wow. You know, because proving yourself, sure. And that's where I agree with you about the children.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to have to prove themselves, learn from me, but I don't want to just give them cash. I want them to have a quicker journey, a shorter process. You know, I had to go to the military, I had to fight in a war, you know, I had to see people get killed. It's just, you know, please, I don't want that for you. I don't want you to go through that. So, no, you don't have to go out and prove yourself, but learn.
Learn and leverage the opportunity that's presented for you.
Absolutely. And one of the greatest business principles is leverage. You know, how to leverage. You know, if you're leveraging credit, you're leveraging your whatever.
That's one of the hardest skills to teach people.
Yeah.
Leverage and, you know, going into what you just said about lifting people up, being conscientious of every action and how it affects all the people around you before you commit.
Right.
How is this going to affect all these people? Because if it's going to negatively affect one, you got to be ready for what's going to happen down the line of that.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's a battle.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, you know, it's for me, it's about being aware of the person next to you. And every time I meet somebody, whether it's James or whether it's Jaden or whether it's Tony, you know, whenever I meet somebody, I've got to think, how can I elevate this man? How can I take him to another level without thinking dollar signs? Because as soon as you think dollar signs, I'm going to use you.
Yeah.
Right?
But you're earning. You're putting yourself, I'm going to serve, and then I'm going to earn the right to charge.
It comes to you.
Yeah.
All of that wealth will come to you. It will all come to you. Yeah.
Wealth is an interesting battle. Right. I'm battling with how much and when's enough, right? Like I'm setting the markers as far as like at what point. So, and when you said your story, you're in the river and your feet are dangling in there and you're crying. And I've had these moments where it's like, man, I have more than superseded anything I ever wanted to do, anyone I ever wanted to be. I've done more in my life at 32 than, and I'm a failure in comparison to most 32-year-olds in my opinion, but at least the people that I look at. So coming from East LA, you grow up, you're in these walls and you don't know what's outside of it. And I just talked to somebody about going and getting a couple of my relatives, kids, 13 years old. And I'm going to drive them outside of the walls and I'm going to show them something different. I'm going to show them where I live. I'm going to show them, I'm going to show them Beverly Hills. I'm going to show them Newport. I'm going to say, hey, that's not how people live.
Right.
There's other ways. And hopefully that opens up their vision, right? So that they're not stuck on, now you know what I do? I got to go work at Subway and then maybe I'll be a manager and I'll make $30 an hour if I'm lucky. I'll make $60,000 a year. And that tends to be their ultimate focus. But if you can expand the vision and give them a little something different. For me, coming outside the walls and now going into the next level, every time there's a new opportunity to class jump, it's like you're hitting this resistance. It's like the battle to break through. Is it worth it? Is this where I stop and get complacent? Or do I put in the effort, you know, to go to the next level? Because you can stop, right? You can anchor down at this level, say, hey, I'm making, you know, a shit ton of money in comparison to anything I wanted to do. I'm living comfortable. Is it worth taking it to the next tier of wealth? Because that battle, breaking through that resistance, is going to be brutal. And that's a battle that that I think a lot of men face, and that's where they get stuck in driving the traffic 8 to 5. And but then that's where I think men like you who can invest can really help get them through that gap, through the battle of the resistance, and ultimately reaching their next level.
Without the sacrifice of valuable things like family.
Yeah.
You know, that's very important. And so,
God, and I wrote that down too.
You don't want to sacrifice the true values of life for a monetary value. But when you get that monetary value, when you've got both and you get to that place of more money, philanthropy comes in, and we can do so much more for society, community, development, human trafficking. Now we become an influence in the right areas, and it's not about us.
Yeah, it's about them.
It's about them. And that, for me, is should be the nature of why we do what we do in life, is to serve.
Wow.
And it comes back to you.
There's no better way to end than that.
Yeah.
Dr. Israel, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Tony.
I really appreciate you. Wow, that's incredible.